me start it recording. Right, here we go. Recording. Welcome to another episode of Reverse Ambition, a podcast that features those who take a leap of faith to follow their dreams and passion. I got my brother, my frat brother, the CEO of Revolt Television, Detavio Samuels. Welcome, brother.
What's good, brother? How you doing? Good to see you, King.
Good to see you, man. First and foremost, well, congratulations on, the things that's happening in your life. I'm excited. I was just saying Puff is a very smart guy because, he got you on the team. He recognized talent. And I'm excited for what you're about to do with Revolt, because I know there's a lot of challenges there. But I want to start off with letting people know your background. So take me through your journey in terms of where you're from, where you grew up, where you went to school, what you majored in, and just lead the conversation up to where you are now.
Okay, cool. So Detavio Samuels, born in Boulder, Colorado. My father was. My mom is Black. I just say normal Black. She's from Chicago by way of Alabama from the South. My father's Jamaican, but was born in Costa Rica.
Blup, 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 blup. I didn't know that, dog.
No, really?
I didn't know that. I'm Jamaican. You know that, right?
Yeah. No, of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
No, so, my family's from like St. Elizabeth. And then my fake family is from Chalky Hill. And so that's where I go back when I go back to Jamaica often. Father was a professor of English studies, African American studies at CU Boulder. So I was born in Boulder. He then took a job at Prairie View A&M in Houston, Texas, did a short stint there. That's where my parents kind of fall apart. My mom moves us back to Colorado. So, that starts the journey of single mom, 2 kids, barely making it, that type of a thing. Was in Gifted and Talented, did well my whole young years. And then around 6th grade, your environment starts getting to you. So, the gangs and the fighting and the streets and all those things. So even though I'm in Gifted and Talented, I'm now fighting, I'm getting in trouble, I'm getting bad grades, all of those things. And the summer before I went to 7th grade, I got jumped by some Crips on the way home. Came home crying, tears, all those things. And Mom's was like, okay, I got this. Sent me on the plane to go see my dad in Utah and never came back to that house.
Oh, word.
The suburbs. All of a sudden, my neighbors are lawyers and doctors and businessmen. I'm not worried about, getting home safely anymore. And so I go back to being an A student and performing. Right. And so that's why I learned the power of education, the power of your environment. Just if you're not in the right environment, you could be the smartest cat in the world and it's still hard to get out. And so I'm grateful that she made those sacrifices to get me there. Let's see, performed well in high school, didn't really know where I wanted to go to college, did well on my PSATs, had a lot of folks hitting me up. Decided to go to Duke University, probably just because of the basketball team. Didn't even know it was a good school. I remember being there my first month. Duke was rated number 3 in the country. And I was like, what? I go to the number 3 school. I had no clue.
Wow.
And, but it was a blessing. And then, as you know, I pledged Kappa my freshman year. And that was a life-changing decision for me. People ask me who my mentors are. I used to say I don't have any, but I realized my mentors are my brothers. They're the cats that pledged me, the cats I pledged with, the cats I later pledged. And so spent 4 years at Duke, where my story really kicks off is second semester, senior year. I take a marketing course and fall in love. Historically, I was good at school, but I didn't love school. This was the first time it was a subject that I loved. And so marketing became the thing that I was going to chase. And when I looked into the future to see who's doing marketing, what level, of course, I learned about CMOs, those types of things. Most of them had MBAs. So I'm getting ready to graduate from Duke, saying I need to get an MBA. Average person gets an MBA going in at 26. I'm 21. I'm trying to figure out, I don't want to wait, 4 or 5 years. Right. And so I take a job working at Duke's Business School for 2 reasons. One, I now am connected to the people in the admissions office. I'm learning how to get into business school early. 2, I'm building with the Duke students. I'm going to classes. I'm learning earlier than I could have or should have been. Fast forward, I end up getting into Stanford. So I go do Stanford.
Nice. Why Stanford? Why Stanford?
You know what? Because it wasn't Duke. So Duke was actually my number one. When I got into Duke, I give the black women there so much credit. One of them, who's like my aunt Sharon, pulled me to the side. I got a 700 and something on my GMAT. It was a pretty high score. And she pulled me to the side and said, Detavio, with that score, you can pretty much get into anywhere. And so you should not just apply to Duke, you should apply elsewhere. And so I ended up applying to Harvard and Stanford as well, because she told me, I said, Duke is my number one, but I'm applying to where everybody else thinks is number one. Man, I didn't end up getting into Harvard. And two reasons I ended up going to Stanford. She looks at me and tells me, Detavio, you went to school at Duke, you worked at Duke, now you're going to get your MBA at Duke. Easily somebody can tell a story that says you didn't deserve this MBA. You only got it because you knew the right people.
Right.
But if you go to Stanford, it's like you grew up in Colorado, you were successful there. You came to North Carolina, you were successful here, both in college and in the workforce. Then you went to Stanford and California, you'll be right. So she was like, you just have to think about the story. So that advice definitely had me kind of looking at Stanford. And then when I got there, like, cats don't know what that life on the West Coast life is like. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
right.
I'm playing basketball every day in palm trees. Like the
Wow.
business school property was like this compound that I'd never seen before. It was
Mm-hmm.
like my first connection to real affluence and real money,
Mm.
and I was intrigued by the space, and so and the heart. So the way Stanford would talk about it is like, we get the best in the world applying here. We choose the people we like. So it was classmates who were not assholes. They were all cool.
Mm.
I loved the space. The story made sense. So that's why I ended up going to Stanford.
Right, right. So your
Yeah.
overall Stanford experience was dope.
Oh,
Mm.
it's crazy. I also got my master's in education there. They had a dope dual degree program. No extra time, no extra money, 2 degrees. And it was like, yo, let's do this.
Wow. How long you at Stanford with all that, doing all that?
2 years. That's what I'm saying. Like, it
You
was,
got your
yeah,
master's, your MBA, and your master's in
in
education, bro. Did
education
you
in
have a
2 years.
life?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Because at Stanford, like, the beauty of Stanford, again, it's like when you're dealing with like real affluence, right?
Mm.
So there were no grades, right? Everybody is basically pass or fail, high pass,
Wow.
low pass, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, when you start playing on a different level, specifically as Black people, you're like, oh, I
Mm.
didn't even know that this existed.
Right.
Essentially, what Stanford says is like, once you are minted Stanford, that is all that matters. If you want to come here and be valedictorian, cool, do that. If you want to come here and start your own company, cool, do that. If you
Wow.
want to write, it's kind of like however you want to use this time, use it. We'd rather you take a finance class and get a 60% and walk out with 60% of the knowledge than be so afraid of taking the
Mm.
course because you don't want to get a bad grade that you never learn finance, right? Well, we'd rather you learn 50% of it than zero. And we're going to give you the freedom and the space to do that. I had never seen anything like that before.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's crazy. It was crazy. So coming out of Stanford, I was wanted to be an entrepreneur. Was working on a startup funded by Google, Yahoo, a bunch of people. Anyways, that was what I thought was going to pop. But I took a job in the meantime working at Johnson and Johnson doing global marketing. Within a year and a half there, decided like, okay, the startup probably isn't going to pop. I need to get
Mm.
serious about my career. They should have promoted me. They didn't
What
promote
made you?
me.
What made you think? This.
Yeah.
Make you realize a startup wasn't going to pop because a
Yeah,
lot
we
of
have been
people.
spinning. We have been spinning. So the way that I would say it now is like, I'm always now as an entrepreneur, I'm like, okay, in order to make a company pop, there's 3 to 5 things that I call the hard parts, or the
Mm-hmm.
parts that you have to get right. Right? It's never gonna be the logo. The company never failed because of the logo. You know what I mean? The company didn't fail because you didn't get some presentation right. There's like 3 to 4 things. In order for that company to work, it was a search engine company like a Google, but it was
Mm.
passion related search. So product and technology like was a core thing. Also, we had to build out this database, which was a core thing, and then building an audience. What essentially we had was a team of people who were good strategists, who maybe could have built a good audience. Nobody on the team had the database knowledge or the technology knowledge. And what we
Mm.
kept doing was trying to find different ways to get it, hiring different people, bringing different people onto the team, and it didn't work. So long story short, we couldn't get the product right.
Mm.
And if you can't get the product right, then the company can't get right. And so essentially that's when I realized after maybe like 18 months, like, yeah, we're struggling to get this product right. I need to start focusing on something else.
Right, right. So you say you focus on your career.
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
and
That's
how
right.
did that play out when you started doing that?
Yep. So beautiful. So I end up at Global Hue, which is my first time inside of an advertising agency. Global Hue was the only place doing Black, Latinx, and Asian American marketing
How
underneath the
you end up
same
at
roof.
Global Hue? How you?
So the frats. So again, my mentors, right? So a brother
Mm,
named Rob Chavis, dope cat, close friend, who's now a big time producer on Blackish. He and his wife were EVPs at Global Hue. His wife oversaw HR. And once they heard I was interested in leaving and interested in that advertising space, they were like, come check us out. Bruh,
mm-hmm.
I'm walking into an office. It was boomerang, but multicultural. Everybody
Wow.
like 30 years, 30 years old and younger, Black, Latinx, Asian, music popping, enjoying life, playing video games, doing
Wow.
dope work for
Where was Global Hue?
Walmart.
Where was Global Hue and how many
Uh,
people?
Detroit and New York at its height, we were about 300, 350 people.
Wow.
Offices, and the Asian one was ran out of LA. Detroit was mostly African American, and then New York was mostly Latinx.
Wow. So you was living boomerang
Yeah.
life, you know?
Dude, it was dope.
Right, right.
It was dope. It was a good time. It
We're
was
in
a
the
good
20s,
time. And so,
mid to late 20s.
yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I got to Global Hue at 26. That's where my career really takes off. I was promoted there every year that I was there, basically. So the
Wow.
next year, the woman who runs the Walmart business leaves. They promote all of the people at like the three superstars at my level, all got promoted to directors. One got became the director of Walmart, one became the director of Navy, and one was the director of MGM. And they double promoted me to be the group account director over all of them, right? So I
Wow.
was overseeing all three. Yeah, and that was like 1 year in, right? And then literally every year from there, I was promoted until I was running all of Detroit, and then eventually the whole thing. It's where my career really takes off. That Don
Wow.
Coleman gave me a shot that nobody else would have given me. Rob Chavis, Sybil Chavis, Alan Pugh, they all believed, and it worked
Hmm.
for a very, very, very long time.
So how was that experience in terms of, becoming like in such a short period of time, it seems, head up
Yep.
pretty much the whole operation? How was that experience and what did you gain? What were some of the challenges as well?
Yeah, it was exciting, but the challenge is, and I've had this challenge in every job I've taken, I'm running teams of people who all know more than I do, right?
Mm,
So you have to imagine I'm leaving Johnson and Johnson, coming over to run a Navy account, knowing nothing about running an advertising business. What
wow.
I knew was how the client thinks, how to build strategy, etc. In my first 3 months, I built a strategy and a plan that grows the Navy business 200% in like 3 months. That's the part
Mm,
I know how to do. Executing it all, I had no clue how to get any of that done, right? So
hmm.
the tough part is when you are leading people who are older than you, who have been in a business longer than you and understand it better than you.
Right.
That's been like the key challenge in most of the stops that I've had along the way.
Right. So how were, those folks, how did they feel like, to see little youngin, for lack of a better word right now, coming and
Yeah.
telling me what to do? How did they react to you managing them?
Yeah, I think look, everybody's it's politics, right? In the beginning, everyone is saying, "Well, this is the boss, so I can't just wild out," but
Mm,
they may not also believe, right? Given all
right.
the things you just said. So, core to my strategy, as I believe leadership is anchored in fellowship. You can't be a leader if people aren't willing to follow.
Mm,
And so, some of the things that I do to try to get people to follow, my leadership style is one, I respect everything they built before me, even
mm,
if it's a turnaround job. If you weren't there and you don't understand the pressures, the budgets, I just show respect to whatever they did before me in spite of whatever challenges they had to face. The second one is, there's a reason I'm there and in that position, and I would try to demonstrate and showcase that knowledge as quickly as possible. So when I
mm,
talk about, okay, well, y'all don't know how to build strategy like I do, let me do that really quickly, show you, okay, boom, here we're now up 200, 300%.
right.
And then the third one is, for the pieces I don't know, while I'm showing them this magic, I am scrambling underneath to learn all the things that I
Mm,
don't know. And I'm in the trenches with them, showing them that, like, A, I'm willing to learn. B, there's nothing I'm gonna ask you to do that I'm not willing to do.
mm,
If you're working till 2 a.m., I'm gonna work till 2 a.m. And I
nice.
think those kind of key things have helped me build fellowship in every single job that I've been in.
Hmm. So Global Hue, how long were you there?
From 2007 till 2013, so 6 years, probably a little bit more than 6 years.
Wow. What made you
Yeah.
transition?
So what was happening? So essentially, two things were happening from the Global Hue standpoint. Global Hue had lost Verizon.
Mm.
Verizon was out in New York. The team there, whatever reasons, right, lost the business, and it was literally like half the business, which
Oh,
sent the whole
wow.
company into a tailspin. So the business went from like thriving. We were a multicultural agency of the decade. We were the talk of the town to like really being thrown into this situation where we were struggling with cash flow issues, that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So Global Hue was struggling. At the same time, I had become bored with making 30-second spots. So the number one product as the agency we were making were TV commercials. People don't want to watch TV commercials. They're doing everything they can to DVR, fast forward, pass
Right.
them, right, skip them,
Right.
whatever. And so the only things people were watching were our Super Bowl commercials,
Mm-hmm.
and those only come around once a year. So separately with Chrysler, we started building a branded entertainment business. We did a mini movie with Lenny Kravitz. We took Beats by Dre, and this is early, so 2009, probably 2010. We took Beats by Dre speakers and put them in the Chryslers, Fiats,
Oh,
Dodges,
nice.
Jeeps, and then we did this whole music video play around them. So you can see videos with 50 Cent, Eminem, Will I Am, Carly Rae Jepsen that all have these like Beats featured vehicles. And I'm watching the Carly Rae Jepsen thing post numbers. It's probably got like 150 to 200 million views right now, right? So
Mm.
I'm like, oh, I'm learning that you can do the marketing in a way that people actually want to see the content. It
Mm-hmm.
just doesn't look like a 30-second commercial. So that's when I started to fall in love with branded entertainment. At the same time, Kathy Hughes and Alfred Liggins had won the Walmart business, which I knew well because I was running the Walmart account at
Mm.
Global Hue. And I knew they were struggling. And so I mentioned to them, like, hey, you guys are struggling a little bit on this business. That was the first thing. The second thing is the chief revenue officer of Urban One. They called me to do a keynote speech. So I wrote a book, November of 2013,
What's the name of the book?
um, Exist No More.
Okay.
So I wrote this book, and they called me in to be the keynote speaker to close out their sales conference. So I'm closing out their sales conference. It's all about personal development, motivation, all of that stuff. And then when we get into Q&A, the questions are about that, but it's also about ideas, how to drive revenue, the things I knew as an agency person. The next day, the chief revenue officer calls me and says, I know you didn't know this, but I quit the job. And they asked me who can replace me. And I told them nobody until I saw you yesterday.
Wow.
Right. And he was like, once I saw you, I went back and told Alfred, this is the guy for the job. And so
Wow.
then that sparked the conversations there, which ultimately ended up having me leave. And one of the biggest lessons from there was like, I've been working on that book for 2 years, right? I was
Mm-hmm.
blogging every day, writing by myself. Nobody's paying attention. 2 years, I decided to turn it into a book. That book becomes the thing that gets me the keynote speech, that gets me the new job,
Facts.
right? So
Right.
I'm working, not really understanding what the purpose of the thing is, but
Mm.
besides hopefully impacting lives and helping other people, it also played a major role in helping to send my career to the
Right.
next step.
Right. So how is now that you in this place with TVOne? Is it,
Yep,
TVOne?
exactly. Yep.
What
Yeah.
was your exact role there starting out, and how were you, received, in that
Yeah.
position?
Yeah, so that one was a little bit light, easier coming in. Again, I knew nothing about media, couldn't either read a media plan if you paid me to, right?
Mm.
But what I knew now was I knew ideas. And what I saw what happening was media companies were getting great shots at creating content with brands. They didn't know how to service brands in the way that agencies did. So I was like, if I can bring this agency capability, big ideas, big solutions in this ecosystem, we can probably make a lot of money together.
Right.
So my first role was the head of cross-platform sales. So anyone who wanted to buy, Urban One is TVOne, Radio One, everybody who does Black radio, except Steve Harvey and the Breakfast Club. So Tom Joyner, D.L. Hughley, Ricky Smiley, right? All of
Mm.
those folks.
Oh, wow.
And then all the brands, like digital brands, Madame Noir, Bossip, Hello Beautiful, Global Grind, all sit in that portfolio. So essentially the deal we did was I'll come if you let me build a branded content studio, give me some money so we can build an agency. And that's what I did. So I ran cross-platform sales and I built an agency that later became like a super dope award-winning agency with Black and brown talent that was just doing, really good work. Super proud of what they did. We grow incredibly fast in my first year and a half. The digital side of the business the president leaves, and then they give me the whole digital piece of the company as well. So then I
Wow.
took over running the 70 plus brands that we had from a
70.
digital perspective. Yeah, so you think about 55 local radio stations, Tom Joyner, Ricky Smiley, Russ Parr, right? Add all those on, Bossa, Hip Hop Wire, Global, like you get to like 70. And
Mhm.
so ran that platform up until I left last May.
Right. So the digital space, what was different in the digital space compared to the more traditional media space? What was the challenges there?
Yeah, I mean, digital is a complete different beast. The amount of people it takes to make a digital machine run is larger than what it takes to make a TV company run,
Mhm.
right? Like you think about the UI, UX people, you think about the amount of metrics that exist in digital. You post something on YouTube right now, the whole world knows if one person saw it or a million people saw it.
Mm.
When you do it in cable TV, the world doesn't know what type of numbers it's posting, only those who have Nielsen, right?
Right.
So you're under a much bigger radar. People are watching. Your ability to drive audiences to those channels, it needs to be a very real capability. Also, the digital business wasn't making money. So the story
Mm.
was Vice, BuzzFeed, Complex, all the people who people were bragging about back in those days weren't making money. Complex maybe, but the rest of them weren't. So that was essentially my challenge. When I took it over, they were probably losing $4 to $10 million a year,
Wow.
and last year they made somewhere around $4 to $10 million a year. So we did a
Wow. See,
full like EBITDA swing. We were one of the first, I believe, we were one of the first big profitable digital companies before Vice, before BuzzFeed. There was a little black company named Interactive One with a bunch of diverse, smart talent that became profitable before all of them.
right. I mean, because I know, like, like the Global Grind and
Yep.
Bossip, and I
Yep.
know those started from like blogs and one man shop, and you were able to take those and put them in a whole ecosystem. So
That's
how are
exactly
you
right.
able to do that? Because those start from like mom and pop type entities to
Yeah.
now there's 70 of them. And how challenging was that to kind of take those you know
Pull together.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think so I have to give Alfred all of his credit because Alfred was ultimately he had to see the vision and then finance the vision. And he did. So
Mm,
we bought Global Grind, we bought the Mogulum brands, which were Hip Hop Wired, Madame Noir, and Bossip. And ultimately the dream was there needs to be an 800-pound gorilla in the black digital space. And
mm,
so we were firing at like 25 million people coming to our sites a month in a time when the next closest brand was maybe BET doing like 8 or 10 million.
oh
And
wow.
so the whole strategy was around building the largest black digital platform. By the way, Revolt, we're about to do the same thing, right? The whole
Mm,
strategy is about being the world's largest black owned media company. It was a similar idea, but it was based on scale. We just want to be the black owned company with the most amount of visitors every single month.
mhm.
And that's what we use to drive growth.
Right, right. All right. Talking about Revolt. Okay, so you killed it at you know, at our TV1, Radio One.
Yep,
They
all
got
of
so
it.
many ones in terms of their names.
Exactly. Exactly,
I don't
exactly,
know which one to
exactly.
use.
It's urban one is the parent, but most people
Urban
don't know
One,
their
Urban
name.
One,
Exactly,
which
exactly.
is a dynamic company, and I noticed I was watching from afar, and I seen the Bossip Soul, and I seen the Global Grind, and I've seen the personalities that was driving content, that interaction. So I mean, that was definitely innovative and groundbreaking, and to leave
Thank
on a
you, brother.
positive note where I'm making $10 million. What made you, it's like, okay, it's time for a new challenge. What inspired you to kind of like, okay, my time has ended here?
Yeah, so I wasn't even really willing to give it a look until I met Tarek in person.
Mm.
Tarek is my boss. He
He's the one that
oversees all
recruited
of it,
you?
and Tarek. He is. So, well,
Mm,
they had a headhunter, and the headhunter who I knew I had previous relationship with calls and says, "Oh, I got the perfect job for you." And
mm.
so I'm like, "Nah, I don't really know about that, right?" He's like, "Well, just
Right.
meet with them." So I meet Tarek at the Soho House, and in comes a brother with sneakers, jeans, t-shirt, same
Yep,
clothes,
that's Tarek.
same gear, yeah,
Yep,
same gear
that's
I got
Tarek.
on, right? But this brother went to HBS, and he's about his game, and we have like a dope convo, and I'm like, "Oh, well, if he's doing well in the puff system, then like." I could probably do well in a puff system. So that's the first thing that opens it up. The second thing is my dad passed February of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that I remember the most is I'm sitting at his funeral watching people talk about him. And when they talk about him, I'm surprised because it sounds a lot like what I think I do. And so as a kid, you look at your parent and your kid is just doing stuff. My dad he was a college professor at the University of Utah. He would travel to India, to China, teaching them about
Mm.
Black folks. He would bring Toni Morrison, Maya
Oh
Angelou, all of
wow.
those people to Utah, do Black conferences. And so when I hear people talk about my father with my adult ears, I hear a man who was going into white spaces, different
Mm.
spaces, championing Black culture, getting people to understand the power of our people. And you can draw a straight line from that to what I do every single day,
Mm.
championing Black culture just in the media space.
Right.
And maybe it was a point in time where I felt like I was not sliding down, but like I was cool, I was comfortable, and it made me uncomfortable. Like it
Mm.
was like, oh, my dad was fighting for his people until he passed, man, like 70 something years old. I got a lot left in me. And
Mm-hmm.
that kind of put a battery in my back. And also gave me a way to feel like the moves I was making could help build on his legacy. And so that's the second thing. And then the last thing that happened is I met PD, I met the chairman.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed our interview, flew to LA. I just happened to be here. He called me like, yo, come to the house, went and saw him. My
Say
first
word.
time working for yeah, he was dope. And it was my first time like looking a visionary leader in the face. I think I tend to be perceived as kind of a visionary leader,
Mm-hmm.
but I had never had a visionary leader.
Mm.
Man, just listening to him talk, listening to him dream, I was like, okay, this
Right.
sounds like
Right.
it's a thing.
You
And so at
know, and
that point in time, I was pretty excited about the opportunity.
a lot of
Now keep
people.
going, bro. That was it.
Oh, I was just saying, a lot of people, want to run away from challenges. And I know I've seen Revolt, transition so many different times, with employees
Mhm.
and all that good, all those things happening, but you ran into the challenge, brother. And I know
That's
talk is a,
that's who I am though.
yeah, yeah. So, what made you feel like you could, you know,
Yeah,
make
no, that's
things,
what I do. That's what I do. So like I always tell people in my interview process, the interview has got to be a good fit. What is a bad
mm,
fit for me is if you want me to come in and maintain. So
mm-hmm,
I'm definitely that person that's like, if you want me to come in after Steve Jobs and just like keep it afloat, that's not my idea. I'm a
mm,
builder, I'm a fixer, I'm a change agent. I'm always gonna my gifts are best suited for those spaces. And so I get excited about challenges, right? Like
mm,
that's when I get to like use my brain and do work. So I'm gonna run into that space. But what was here that's different is the Revolt has all the ingredients, right? So
mm,
whereas people might have seen the challenges in the funk, I see hip hop, which is driving global culture. PD, who's one of the biggest, dopest global icons of our generation, a brand that's focused on Gen Z and Gen Y, which is every advertiser's dream. Like
mm,
we had everything we needed. So I saw the opportunity, recognized that there were challenges, and those are always going to be fun places for me to play.
mm. So what do you envision, Revolt being, and what do what's your game plan in terms of
Yeah,
really meeting those challenges and
yeah.
whatnot?
Yeah, I'm incredibly proud of the team, man. I came June 1st. It's now almost April 1st. And that short period, the team has done a heck of a turnaround,
Mm-hmm.
right? With the onset of COVID, the George Floyd being murdered, we re-anchor ourselves in social justice, which gives the brand purpose and mission and meaning, which we didn't have before. And now the world can see that and respects that and is responding to that. So we repositioned the company, and the team did an incredible job doing that. After we repositioned the company, it was just about showing up in the social justice space and nailing the Revolt Summit last year, which they did an amazing job doing. This year, we're coming in with just big dreams. So the easy number one dream is we want to be the number one, the largest Black owned media company in the world. We believe that there should be a Black owned Disney or a Black
Mm,
owned Viacom, right? When you look at Black owned media companies, you can't find one that makes more than $1 billion a year.
mm,
So what does that mean? It means that, like all things, Black media companies are operating in scarcity and lack. right? And while the rest of everybody has the money, and they have the money to exploit the culture, right? And they can do so in a way that doesn't take care of our people, etc. So we believe there needs to be a Black-owned media company at scale that is the size of a Disney, with the pocketbooks of Disney, to green light the work within the culture that we believe the culture in our community wants and needs. So that's kind of like the big high level vision. Within it, we've got a bunch of pillars that matter to us. For example, we talk about making creators owners and building a platform for creators. Gone are the days where creators go to spaces, go to media companies, do deals. Those shows make millions upon millions for them, and the creators don't see any of it. Right? All of our creators, we're doing some sort of equity share, profit sharing, something in the IP that's like, look, if you win, if we win, we all win, right? So just trying to change the business model so that we get it right for our community while we are trying to scale and build this thing that simply has just never existed.
Right. So in terms of creators and content, what type of content, specifically you guys want to focus on?
Yep.
And you said Generation X and Z. Is that your
Y and Z? I might have said
Y
X
and
and Z, but it
Z?
should have been
Y
Y
and
and Z.
Z.
Yeah.
Oh god damn, you're not messing with X, bro.
Now y'all gonna come. Yeah, X is
Oh,
gonna be there,
bro.
right? Yeah.
Content.
We definitely have X, but we designed for Y and Z. Right?
Right. So in terms of the content, what type of the content is Revolt really putting out there and whatnot, and the type of creators that you guys are aligning yourself with?
Yep, I'll give you 3 ways to think about it. We're super interested in breaking new ground, being disruptive, playing in spaces that Black media companies have not been allowed to play in the past. So that's one lens to look through it. When we talk about our content pillars, we talk about 4 content pillars. Hip hop gives you permission to play in any space because hip hop touches the cultural fabric of everything. So we break it down into lifestyle, music, social justice, and cultural authority. Cultural authority are things like the Breakfast Club, Noriega, anybody who's speaking on the weight of hip hop, past, present, and future. And then the last way in which we're really thinking about it is we're shifting the model. So whereas the development model for television is we find great shows, we develop great shows, and then we go find talent to be in these shows. We're doing much more of like a bad boy music approach. We finding dope talent with engaged audiences. We putting them in the studio, and then we're collaborating and making something together. So if you look at our latest show that we just launched with Justin LeBoy, we signed Justin first. We didn't sign him first. We started working on the collaboration first, locked in on an idea, and then we're now executing that. So now we know that the talent is excited about it. He's got, executive producer credits to his name, right? We're helping him build for his future. And it's something that the talent's going to promote because it's also their idea and their work. And if it works for all of us. So just aligning all of our interests so that we can get the biggest bang for our buck.
Right. I mean, you said something about like you about to build out a digital space. Is that something, in line with, part of the goal and the vision?
Absolutely. So some people see us as a linear network. We clearly have one, and that's part of what makes us unique. There's no other hip hop cable network, but we see ourselves as a digital forward media company. So let me just give you a couple of things that we're doing. So this year alone, we are revamping our website to be more video first so that we can build a video audience there. We are launching all of our apps. So there'll be apps on in Q2 mobile. So Android, iOS, Roku, Apple TV. We are also in conversations with all of these streamers and what they call vMVPDs. NBC has one called Peacock, Pluto, Tubi, Xbox, right? So we're in conversations with all of those as well. And, if things go our way, you'll also see us have, solid footprints in those spaces as well. So yes, the linear network still exists and we're going to keep feeding that, but we've got to be where, the audience lives and breathes, which is largely digital.
Right. Yo, dude, you really revamping and rebuilding.
We moving, brother.
Y'all breaking it down and, and yo, dude, how many hours in a day do you focus on? Because there's so much moving parts going on right now. And, how much time does this take? Is it overwhelming?
Yeah. Right now it's overwhelming. The first thing I want to say is the beauty of it all is that I'm not the one doing all of the work. I have a phenomenal team, and there are people who are
How big is your team?
driving.
How big is the team?
So you should think of us about like 75 to 100
Okay.
zone and growing, right? Like we're just going to keep growing. We're going to keep driving that revenue so we can hire more people of color, more Black women, more all of that. But just more people, more diverse bodies. We just believe in the value of diverse perspectives. But
Mm.
there's an amazing team who's actually doing all of the work. People who are driving all of these initiatives, revamping the website, launching these apps. It takes a kingdom to get it done. And so I do not want to take any of the credit. I want to put all of the credit on them. Where my work has really come in has been the time it has taken to like figure out vision, figure out strategy, learn this ecosystem, try to build relationships with the chairman, building relationships with a company of people who I'm leading that I've never met in person, right? Like
Oh, right, right,
those are the right, like
right.
I've never met 90% of the team in person, right?
Wow.
And so those are the places that I like are taking my energy. And then I would be lying if I didn't admit that I really thought that the transition to CEO was going to be very similar because I was leading in a large way already. But I was very wrong about that.
Mhm.
The move to CEO has definitely come with some new things, and so those first 2 or 3 weeks from the announcement, I was drowning like
Mm.
80 hours a week. But now I'm back to a place where I now I'm sitting at a 50,000 foot level. I understand my priorities. I'm navigating my schedule accordingly. So now I think I'm back into a good place. It's a PD system, so it can't stop, won't stop for sure.
Right, right.
But it doesn't mean can't stop, won't stop, and I don't have a life. So it's all
Right,
good.
right, right, right.
Yeah.
Talking about PD and you mentioned Tark earlier. How is it working with those those brothers? What's the
Yeah.
dynamic like? In terms of
Yeah.
accountability and challenging, and you know, and what
Yeah.
are some of the challenges that you guys have to work through?
Yeah. So what I'll say about working with the chairman is I always say this, it's like he has a way to put a battery in your back like you've never seen before. You know what I mean? It's like no
Right.
matter how you dragging, no matter how you feeling, you enter into a room with him and he's just gonna put a battery in your back and tell you that you can go conquer the world. I love that. I
Right.
love that. When I talk to him, I'm like, you literally just have to keep forcing me to dream. It's
Mm,
so easy to get locked into the scarcity and the limited
mm.
resources that you have. And PD don't care about any of those things.
Yeah.
And so that's helpful because he just reminds me to dream all of the time, which I love. The challenge in that can be, sometimes people are pushing you to dream when you really need to worry about the business realities, right?
Right, right,
So that's where
right.
some of the challenge can come in. But I love the fact that he makes me dream.
Hmm.
It's exciting. And then with Tark, Tarek is an amazing boss. He is human. He is incredibly intelligent. He is just a solid black man. And so he's a coach, he's a mentor, he's
Wow.
all of those things. And so I love working with Tarek. I think I'm probably getting more coaching from Tarek and support from Tarek than I've had in a boss in quite some time. Usually my bosses have been really amazing and kind of let me run. Tarek lets me run, but he's also like giving me feedback, pushing me, and again, I just really appreciate the opportunity to work with that black man. He's super dope.
Right, right. Yo,
There's one more
so
person, can I say? There's a black woman on the Ciroc Diageo side that I work with all the time named Ingrid Best, who's also super dope. If you haven't interviewed her, maybe you should. You're like, I can make the
put me
connection.
on. I'll definitely put her,
Bruh, she
interview.
came into the Ciroc De Leon business by herself, one person, has built a team, an all black team of like all stars, largely women, and they are kicking butt and taking names on the Ciroc and De Leon side. And so
Wow.
to have a sparring partner like that on the other side, pushing me to be great, she's a woman of God. We can talk together, pray together, like move together. So the whole team is the team is dope.
Wow. It seemed like it's a large, but it's a very intimate
Yeah,
community of you guys who really bought in to, the big picture and want to see each other win and want to see the
that's right.
culture win, you
That's
know?
right. That's
So
right.
balancing purpose and profits. I know sometimes,
Mm,
the type of content, it's dope, but is it good for the culture? How do you
mhm.
guys determine, you know, how do you guys balance that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think that's hard, but I'll say historically for Black media companies is Black media, one of the reasons Black media companies maybe did not get a rise to the extent that they could have is because we always had the responsibility of the community on
Yeah.
our back. And
Right.
so we weren't willing to do the ratchet shows. We were going to do the clean shows that are going to get smaller audiences. Then that's how WeTV, Bravo, all these other people come in, bring
Right.
all the ratchet, right? And
Right.
take all the numbers and all the cash. And so just having seen that for the last decade, I think a key piece of me as my thinking is it's not about do you have a ratchet show, it's about do you have balance. If all
Mm.
you're putting into the community is ratchetness, I think there's a problem. But if
Right.
you have balance, if you got ratchet and Revolt Black News, if you've got, you know what I mean, like
Right.
options,
Right.
you got
Right. Right.
sports and so I think one of the things that like I think about a lot is just making sure that the portfolio is holistic.
Mm-hmm.
We design to a target that we call young, gifted, and black. I think of it as almost like that 20-year-old kid that was in college wilding, like, whatever. He gonna want wild on the weekend and
Right.
club and drink and do whatever. Then on the next day, like he may wake up and go to church and watch
Right.
the
Right.
news,
Right.
right? So
Right.
so we just trying to make sure that we program to his whole self, that we don't leave anything on the line. And so that's one piece. The second piece that I would say is from a so that's how I think about the entire portfolio. When I think about the content we're creating, it's really about the creators. Again, so like my whole thing is like, how do you give these creators their opportunities to take
Mm-hmm.
their shots and see if their stuff works? And so it's just making sure that we're working with a diverse group of creators who aren't going to give me all of the same content, that are going to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that we, can have a much more a well-rounded and balanced portfolio.
Right.
Yeah.
Listen, I've always said, talking about the college life, I mean, I had an amazing time at Howard, and we
Right.
went through so many challenges, which, whether it be fraternity or just
Yeah.
lifestyle. And I'm like, if the culture could see how we lived in college, it'll
Man.
be a game changer because,
Man.
you know,
Man.
and I see that's where, hiring someone like you could bring to, a solution to the problem, a different type of lens that
Mm,
goes beyond just hip hop, that just goes beyond just street. You could
that's right.
bring, that content that resonate, because what we do in college, we watch, our favorite show. I remember watching The Simpsons all the time and watching
Yeah.
all these shows every Sunday night. We watching these shows because it is something that we did on our downtime. And I've always wondered, how come people don't create content for our lifestyle? And
That's right.
you know what I'm saying? So
That's
I'm
right.
kind of excited, for what you guys about to do, bro.
I think that's exactly right. So we're trying to pick, like I said, the right creators and the right talent to get that done. But that's why we think that it's important that there's a Black owned media company
Mm-hmm.
who's got the money to fund these dreams. No longer can we depend on and I love them, but no longer can we depend on white people at the top of organizations to
Yeah.
green light what they think is right and relevant
Facts.
for the Black
Facts.
community, right? Like you need people who are coming from inside of the culture. You need people who are studying the culture and can see people before they pop,
Mm-hmm.
not just the ones that, like you look at so many of these companies are giving imprint deals to the only Black people they know, people who do dope work, Ava, Shonda, the Obamas,
Right.
people who do dope work. There's a whole like group of dope creators that like people can't even see because they're not in the community and from the
Right.
culture, right? So
Right.
that's why this whole like, no, you need a Black owned media company who comes from within the culture, who has big dollars, big resources, and can green light the work that we know our culture wants. And guess what? If our culture wants it, we know that everybody else is coming to the table, right?
Right.
So that's essentially the game we're trying to play, or we're
Right.
playing.
Well, listen, I mean, I look at, being on Twitter every day and seeing the type of content that's dope, that resonate, that
Mm-hmm.
goes viral, and that's is for
Mm-hmm.
free. These
Yeah,
these
yeah,
people are giving away amazing talent and content for free because this
facts,
is what they are naturally. So having a
facts.
company that Revolt, that identify these people and, like you said, put them in a position to be themselves and where they own their content, I feel like that's genius, brother.
1,000%. Thank you, man. I'll give you one more example. Jim Jones. Jim Jones been doing this like super dope weather show. Just him on his
A
IG, like
weather show?
just him on his phone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. Just Jim go out, funny as all get out, and it sounds like the culture. I've never seen the culture doing weather. Right. He
Mhm.
did it for 2 years. Jim and I meeting. He shows me this. I'm like, Jim, this is genius. We said, let's do it together. Right. We're now on season 3 of that at Revolt.
Wow.
Shows doing hundreds of thousands of views every single weekend. It's the same idea Jim had, but we now brought a production capability, storytelling
Nice.
capability, resources to make it better. Right. So again, to your point, the culture is doing all of this super dope content, sometimes giving it away for free.
Right.
And we're saying, no, 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 you're a dope creator. Let's elevate the work and then let's go make money on it
Right.
together.
So how do you identify these groundbreaking talent? Even talent don't even realize they're talent. How do you like
Yeah.
identify, these folks and how you engage them?
Yep. So one of the ways we have a chief brand officer who's another dope person on the executive team, Dion Graham. So Dion keep his head in the culture, keep his head in the streets, and so he is critical. I almost see Dion as almost like A&R for us, right?
Mm.
We're looking through the culture, saying, all right, who's dope, who's the culture respecting? We need to build with them, and then
Mhm.
he'll bring it to me, and we'll figure it out. So Dion is one of our secret weapons. We also have a group at work that we call the Brain Trust. So these are people who are on the content team but reflect the audience. So they're more Gen Y, I don't know if we have anybody Gen Z, but
Mhm.
like when you talk to them, they don't know anything that we know. And they know a whole bunch of stuff I don't know. And
Right.
so every 2 weeks, we bring everything to them: logos, storytelling ideas, show ideas like, yo, is this hot for your generation? And so we'll also solicit stuff from them, right? Like, yo, who do you want to see a show with? Who do you
Nice.
think is dope, right? And then we also have a thing called Revolt Nation, which is a research panel of thousands of people who are our audience, and same thing. We'll
Mhm.
talk to them like, who do you guys want to see? Who do you think is hot? So from data externally, data internally, and A&R who's in the streets and has a dope eye, we kind of look at all of those things together and figure out where we're going to be placing our
All
bets.
right. Yo, it sounds like it's like how the record industry was in the 90s.
I say that's what I like. I say that all the time. Like we weren't intentionally doing it, but like the more I would talk about it, the more I learn. That's why I now say stuff like it's more of a bad boy model,
Right,
right?
right,
Like
right, right,
this
right.
is like, look,
Guys got
who's
your
sniffing
street
around.
team, get your
Exactly,
A&R,
exactly,
you know.
exactly,
Oh, that's
exactly.
dope,
That's
bro.
exactly
That's
right.
dope.
That's
Yo,
exactly
listen,
right.
man. What I love about you is because you have the professional, young professional eye,
Mm-hmm.
but you also have like the street eye as well. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I've always said the young professionals always get overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
I might be aged out, but I
Mm-hmm.
know them young 20 something, that's going to like grits and biscuits south in the city. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? They got a 9 to 5 job and they got a lot of disposable income, but nobody's
Yep.
really talking
Trying to
to
talk
them
to
in
them.
terms of content. So I'm
Yep.
excited for what you do, brother, because I know
Thank
you,
you,
you
King.
came. That's what the world you came from.
Thank you, King. Yeah, I'm look, all I need is money. I'm out spending all my time trying to raise money. And
Mm.
somebody put some more money in our coffers and we off to the races.
Right, right, right. Now, in terms of money, how do you guys? I know you guys go for traditional sponsorship. That is that the main revenue stream, or
Yep.
how are you guys going to make money? Because at the end of the day, that's bottom line. That's what it's about, right? No matter how
Yeah,
much you
yeah,
want to do for
yeah.
the culture.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So our revenue streams look like what most TV networks, revenue streams look like, meaning we get money from the affiliates or
Mm.
the Verizons, the Comcast, those types of folks, the same way an ESPN does.
Hmm.
Then we get money from advertisers who believe in the product. And, I'm happy to say that, unhappy to say that it took George Floyd, but man, post George Floyd, advertisers have come
Oh
in a way that is
wow.
like no tomorrow. And, I'm super proud of the work my sales team is doing in telling our story, and grateful that there are brands that hear it, that believe in the purpose, that believe in the mission, and are down to support. So our advertising revenue is like taking off,
Wow.
which is great. We have things like the summit, which you know about. So that's
Yeah.
event stuff. And so we've got 3 key ones, right? Nothing that's confidential. People could easily see from the outside, and we're just gonna keep building and diversifying.
Yeah, man. Yo, listen, man. I appreciate you, brother. I
Yeah,
appreciate you. I'm
man.
actually appreciating you being in the position you're in, because I've always said, and these these music stations, they're just missing, they're just so limited in their scope. They just attack a problem from one point of view, which is not, no fault of their own, but I feel like you have that perspective and overview along with, Puff and Tarek, man. I feel like you guys are on to something, man.
Thank you, brother. I pray and believe you are 100% accurate.
I'm saying, brother, I gotta get my numbers up so y'all can pay attention to me.
Yo, facts. No, I mean, that's the thing. Like, that's one of the things. It's like, who's already got audience, who's building, and how can we make them be better, right? Like, that's a key part of the strategy, right? We're going to invest in the people who have proven that they can build audiences. That's what Jim did. That's why we're working with Jim. That's what Justin LeBoy did. That's why we're working with Justin, right?
Right.
So yes, keep building, King.
I mean, this interview is gonna help me. You know what I'm saying? So your personal life, I know you moved out to LA, and how's that life, man? I'm hating right now, brother.
As you should be. Like I always say, I don't know if I'm going to love LA when quarantine is over, but I started on Wall Street in the 58th floor of a building that was 1,200 square feet. It was the height of the epidemic. It had become a ghost town. It was like a zombie apocalypse down below, and we were trapped in our building, right? Like you couldn't really move. We came to LA, man. I got a pool on the roof. I got almost twice the square footage. We've got a balcony that's large. So you just want to talk about like just health. And by the way, I paid less money than I did in New York.
Oh, say word.
Yeah.
Say word. That's why everyone moving out to LA.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And so for me, I can wake up every day, walk outside, get fresh air. I don't even turn the lights on in the house. I just live by the sun. When the sun goes down, then like the house goes down. So like it's very natural. I swim every single morning. So I love LA during quarantine. I'll let
Quality
you know
of life
is
it's a good place, brother.
It's good. What I'm saying? It's good. Beaches, hiking, trail, like it's got everything you need. Even in a world while the world is shut down.
Right. Yo, man, I'm about to wrap this up. We could talk forever, but man, what is the biggest advice that you could give someone who wants to be where you are right now, and really not only have a job that makes money, but their impact in the culture in a real way, and in a long-term generational way. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people's looking at the lights and the camera and the flashes and the lifestyle, and they chasing that. You know what I'm saying? What do you advise people who's looking for doing some real work and having some, making some real impact?
Yeah, so I have a couple of things. One, Steve Jobs gave this super dope speech at Stanford, one of their like commemoration speeches, where the key idea is like the dots never connect going forward, but they always connect in reverse. And I'm in one of those moments where like, if like that no truer words have ever been spoken, right? So in my 20s, I was trying to be an entrepreneur and was frustrated because I couldn't get the company to pop, right? Then I get serious about my career and I go to the agency side where I learn about the power of ideas and I get to work with all these brands and see how they do marketing strategy. Then I go to a media company where I take the strategy that I learned from J&J, the agency life that I learned, and I build an agency inside of a media company. So I learn how to do that. Then I start learning the digital media business. I give Alfred all the credit. Nobody else was going to give this young Black man the opportunity to run a digital media company with zero digital media background. You know what I mean? But he did. Fast forward, I'm now at Revolt, where I am leveraging the strategy that I learned from the client side, where I've now not only built an agency, I've already built an agency inside of a media company. I know all the failures that we made, mistakes that we made the first time.
Right.
I'm just building the same thing in Revolt.
Right.
And then one of the biggest things that Revolt has to do is usher itself into this like digital reality, where I just ran all of the top Black sites from the digital world, et cetera.
Facts.
So now I'm in this place where it's like, when you look back, you can see how all of that stuff makes sense. On the way there, it didn't feel as good.
Right.
It didn't feel as comfortable the whole way. Right. So one of the things is like, being willing to dream, understanding that there's often a gap between the vision you have and where you think you should be and where you are. And two, like it's like the faith walk. You just got to keep moving. You got to keep moving. You got to keep believing. And one day those things will all make sense in reverse.
Right.
And I'm not saying I'm done. Like, I think Revolt is going to be another thing that I will do for who knows how long, 2 years,
Right.
10 years, 20 years, right? But it's going to be a setup for whatever the next thing is. And then I'll be able to make sense out of all of that. So one of them is just to recognize that the dots only connect in reverse. Continue that faith walk towards your dream.
Faith walk. I
And
like that.
you will get there. The other thing I posted on my IG this week that's just been on my heart is this idea that's like, the most important story we learn to tell is a story we tell ourselves about ourselves, right? So often I hear people and their narratives about their life, their experience, who they are, what their identity is like, grimy. And I'm like, man, it's going to be really hard to be amazing when the story you're telling yourself every day is about how grimy things are, right? So recognizing the power of like using the word like I am, like literally those words, I am, and whatever comes after is like the most important things you can ever say and speak out loud. And so anyways, I think that's just my other piece, which is that we have to be super conscious of the stories that we're telling ourselves day in and day out, because the wrong stories can break the faith walk and take you off of your trajectory and plan. So anyways, I probably have like a million other things I could say, but we'll leave it.
Oh, listen, man, I'm ready for your TED Talk. I'm ready for your books. and you know, Tarek, you know, said that, you know, he's, you know, his journey has been actually doing the work, getting his hands dirty, you know what I'm saying, getting messy, you know, getting that fight, you know what I'm saying? And I love watching a good fight, brother. So I'm excited to see what you guys do, man. I'm very excited. That's why I slide in. I was like, yo, I need to get you guys on record. Reverse Ambition podcast, you know, to let people know what's about to happen up in there. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. We'll do it again in a year and we'll take a look back, right?
See for sure. I mean, you know, I might try to invite you on Clubhouse and have like these type of conversations and a real conversation in terms of.
I'm open.
You know what I'm saying? So appreciate you, brother, man. Continued success, man. I know there's a lot of work you got ahead of you, but I think you, Tarek, and Puff is you know, triple threat, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So congrats,
I appreciate the love. Thank you for having me. It's just good to see you. It's good to see your face. I'm glad to hear of all the positive things.
Yeah, man. I'm adulting over here, brother.
Yeah, exactly. Like it or not, right?
I'm adulting, man. I'm like, wow, how this happened? But I love where I'm at right now. You know what I'm saying? And I'm, like you said, it doesn't happen going forward, how the dots connected, but definitely I look back in terms of how I got here. It made total sense, you know?
That's it. You just got to know that that's the way it's going to work out. Keep pushing. Let me know how I can help along the way. I'm with you on Clubhouse. If you ever want to do anything, I'm here to support. All love, King.
Yeah, man. I'll let you know when my numbers is up too.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Let me be the first call.
Yes, sir. I got you, brother. All right, baby. All right, yo. What up? Thank you for listening to another episode of Reverse Ambition. I hope you enjoyed the conversation and got some inspiring nuggets. Before you go, though, please remember to subscribe so you'll be alerted when the next episode is dropped. You don't want to miss out. And remember, it's never too late to leave to follow your dream or your passion. You can always lead back. Live your life with no regrets. Until next time, my name is Kelsey Cooper, aka The Social Broker. Peace.